Basically, political issues and political prisoners have always been treated in a very different way from the ordinary criminals on the road. When you are in government, you have to display a lot of wisdom in handling political issues. I give you an example. United States had already cornered Julian Assange, the WikiLeaks founder, who they accused of leaking some classified document that embarrassed United States. But they also realized that they had to make a balance between free speech, between the freedom of journalists and trying to bring a journalist to trial. They know that Russia is holding some of their citizens who are journalists and they are trying to bring espionage charge against them. Knowing this, they know that even if they bring this man to the United States, they will still, face some backlash. They now went through wisdom and did a plea bargain and released this man from jail and allowed him to get back to Australia. Namdi Kanu has not done anything that other people from other zones have not done. We know about Sunday Boko, of the Yoruba nation agitator. We know of the Boko Haram people that say they want a different country where Western education is an abomination. These people have been released. Not just that they have been released. In the case of Boko Haram, they've been re-assimilated to the society, given plum jobs, even in our military. They've been given money and been resuscitated, reconciled, and rehabilitated. Why is Namdi Kanu's case different? There is an ethnic and some unnecessary bias that is keeping that man in jail. The government should be wise enough to release this man. You can use the Julian Assange option. If you don't want to say you are losing face, you can release him conditionally, you can release him unconditionally. As a lawyer, I've watched the legal issues very clearly, and I saw that even in the courts, from the High Court to the Supreme Court, there are discordant tones amongst them. Even in the issue of bail, some of the tier of the courts are granted him bail. Even in the issue of the charges, some tier of the court had quashed all the charges. So you can see that the government has a lot of places it can stand to release the young man and bring peace to the southeast. He is now more like a political prisoner. I tell you something. The longer Namdi Kanu is in prison, the taller he becomes, and the shorter the government becomes. They should take the intelligent way out of this and release him like they did to other people. Rehabilitate him and reconcile him as they are reconciling Southeast completely to the nation.
I'm glad you brought up that Julian Assange case because analysts have been looking into the similarities between these two cases. And what stuck out with me majorly is the fact that Namdi Kanu fled bail back in 2017, much like Julian Assange. But what it seems right now is it's more of a political situation with Namdi Kanu. With Julian Assange, it seemed that the potentness or the pungentness of his crimes seemed to deteriorate as the world grew and as time went on and more leaks like this happened. In the case of Namdi Kanu, some could argue that him staying in jail, of course it's unfortunate, but him being released would also lead to some unintended consequences in terms of an escalation of violence. This is allegedly, etc., and the reigniting of his followers who seem to be scattered all over the world and seem to be a bit of a thorn in the flesh of individuals who have been suffering the sit-at-home orders and all the other violence that has come about. How will they be able to balance those two equations of keeping him in jail, which is worse, keeping him in jail or letting him out, and potential violence escalating? What are your thoughts on that?
My thought is this. I brought the Julian Assange issue just to tell you that the government can use wisdom and bring about situation where they will tell him, you've spent so and so time in detention. Let us count it for you as any punitive measure for whatever they may say he had done. Allow him to plead to any minor offense that will suit that number of times he has already stayed and release him. That's why I brought the Julian Assange. That's wisdom. Then secondly, you can release him conditionally and tell him, look, this will bring crisis if we release you. No responsible government will say, let us release you when we have not gotten a commitment from you that you will no longer go along this line. The young man had said that he is willing to negotiate, that he is willing to talk. So you talk to him, that is releasing him conditionally. Then the third one is releasing him unconditionally. So you have a choice, but the three of them will land in releasing him. The most important thing is that the government checks the cost-benefit analysis in whatever it is doing. And I can tell you that the benefit of releasing him, if you can make him to get commitment on what you want him to do after releasing him, will be better than keeping him. Because keeping him has not solved the security situation in the southeast. It has not stopped the agitation. As a matter of fact, it is making even the agitation to now be multifaceted, to now be unknown. That's why you hear the unknown gunmen. So it's more difficult to tackle. So releasing him, in my own opinion, will be better off now than keeping him. The benefit of releasing him will be better than the cost. So you negotiate with him, know the best option, and release him.
Now, Mr. Okonkwo, talking about the issue of security, the governor has also resolved to tackle insecurity in the southeast. But that's a bit vague when we consider what's been happening in that region over the years. So what measures would you advise must be taken by the governors, the federal government, to tackle insecurity in southeast Nigeria?
I've always said, I'm sorry to say it, that the governors can only make promises, but they do not have what it takes to enforce their promise. That's why I'm talking about state police. Because the police we have now answers to the Inspector General of Police and answers to the federal government. So no matter their plan, no matter their opinion, no matter the objective they have to tackle insecurity, it is still subject to the efficiency and effectiveness of the national police, which is outside the purview of their power. So the best way this federal government can tackle insecurity at the regional and state levels is to grant state police to the states, amend the constitution. People always talk about abusing state police. Let me state it clearly here, that I am not assuring anybody that some governors will not abuse state police. They will. And the reason is because the federal government abuses federal police at times. Is it not with the federal police that they use to rig election? Is it not with the federal police that they use to do certain things? So that the mere fact that some state governors will abuse state police will not be the reason you will say the right thing should not be done. Because the abuse we are getting now from kidnappers, from terrorists, from rapists, from unknown gunmen, from all those people